For decades, if you walked onto a professional logging site anywhere in the world, one specific color palette dominated the landscape: orange and white. Buying a premium chainsaw was not just a simple retail transaction, it was a permanent, lifetime investment in your livelihood. You willingly paid $1,500 for European iron because it promised one foundational thing: unbreakable German and Swedish engineering. You paid that steep premium because you believed with absolute certainty that a Stihl saw would start in a freezing sub-zero blizzard, survive an accidental 60-foot drop from a tree canopy, and successfully feed your family for a decade. It was an extension of a man's hands. But something fundamental has quietly shifted in the deep woods. Hardened timber cutters are quietly walking away from brand-new, computer-optimized saws. Instead, they are actively spending their evenings hunting down 20-year-old, heavily beaten up, completely mechanical relics on eBay and Facebook Marketplace. These are professional loggers whose fathers only ran premium brand-new iron. Now, they are risking their entire day's production on a tool most would consider junk. Word is spreading through the remote logging camps like wildfire, and the corporate executives sitting in clean boardrooms in Germany are starting to panic. These industry veterans aren't hoarding old equipment out of nostalgia. They are doing it for survival. Modern chainsaws are now actively engineered to fail. They are starved of vital fuel, choked by suffocating government regulations, and systematically built with cheap composite materials disguised as advanced polymers. In this video, we expose the dirty environmental lie destroying the tool in your hands. We are going to tear these machines down to the bare magnesium crankcases. To truly understand why a brand new, modern professional chainsaw dies a premature death, we have to look directly under the cylinder shroud. The downfall began in the early 2000s, when the United States Environmental Protection Agency, known as the EPA, introduced harsh, sweeping emission standards. A traditional two-stroke chainsaw engine is naturally a dirty machine by design. Because it lacks a separate oil sump, it must burn a precise mixture of gasoline and oil. A significant amount of unburnt hydrocarbons escapes through the exhaust. To meet these laws without adding weight, manufacturers permanently leaned out the carburetors. In mechanical terms, a lean fuel mixture means the engine is forced to consume a high volume of air and a critically low volume of actual gasoline. In a car engine, fuel is strictly for combustion. But in a high-performance chainsaw engine running at 13,000 revolutions per minute, liquid gasoline is your primary internal coolant. As the cool fuel droplets atomize through the intake manifold, they actively drop the temperature of the piston crown, the wrist pin, and the needle bearings. When you systematically starve a high-revving engine of its primary cooling agent to satisfy an environmental bureaucrat, the internal operating temperatures instantly skyrocket. Modern saws are now forced to operate at the absolute thermal limit of their lightweight aluminum alloys. A single tank of slightly bad gas, and the physical metal undergoes a catastrophic transformation. The aluminum piston rapidly expands at a faster rate than the surrounding cylinder wall. It literally scrapes away its own microscopic oil film, creating deep, destructive scoring. In a fraction of a second, your $1,400 premium tool becomes a molten paperweight. But the starvation of fuel was only step number one. To save manufacturing weight and drastically boost corporate profit margins, premium brands slowly began removing heavy, rugged magnesium castings. Today, major structural components including intake manifolds, fuel tanks, handlebars, and even portions of the main crankcase surround are made of composite polymers. Corporate marketing calls this advanced lightweight polymer engineering. But to an experienced mechanic, it's just overpriced plastic designed to degrade over time. Under the intense heat caused by the factory-set lean fuel mixtures, these structural plastic housings are subjected to extreme cycles of expansion and contraction. Over time, the plastic warps. It becomes incredibly brittle. It develops microscopic hairline fractures around the mounting bolts. And that leads to the ultimate, silent killer of two-stroke engines: unmetered air leaks. When a plastic crankcase seal deforms or a rubber intake boot cracks, extra oxygen sneaks into the engine behind the carburetor. When extra air enters an engine that is already running dangerously lean, the fuel-to-air ratio plummets into total imbalance. The internal temperature explodes like a blast furnace, causing a catastrophic lean seizure that destroys the cylinder walls within minutes of operation. But it goes deeper than just melting pistons. When an engine runs this hot and lean, the lubrication profile completely breaks down. The two-stroke oil mixed into your gasoline cannot survive the extreme thermal load. It flashes off into vapor before it can adequately coat the lower rod bearings and the main crankshaft bearings. Once those main bearings lose their boundary lubrication, they begin to gall. Microscopic metal flakes flake off the steel balls and enter the transfer ports. From there, they travel directly into the combustion chamber, acting like a hand grenade inside your cylinder. You aren't just buying a saw with a shorter lifespan, you are buying a machine that is actively eating itself from the inside out. But the ultimate betrayal of the traditional pro user came with the forced introduction of complex digital electronics into what used to be a purely mechanical tool. In an effort to constantly chase lower emissions and automated efficiency, premium brands completely eliminated the manual carburetor adjustment screws. In their place, they introduced electronic, auto-tuning carburetor systems controlled by microprocessors, famously known as Stihl's M-Tronic and Husqvarna's AutoTune. On paper, this technology sounds amazing to a tech-savvy consumer. A tiny onboard computer constantly monitors engine RPM and temperature, automatically adjusting the fuel flow via an electronic solenoid valve to compensate for elevation changes, dirty air filters, or varying fuel quality. There are no manual high or low jets left for a mechanic to tune. But out in the real world, away from clean testing laboratories, the electronics present a massive operational liability. A logging site is an incredibly hostile environment filled with abrasive wood dust, sticky tree sap, extreme vibration, water, and intense heat. Delicate wiring harnesses, small lithium sensors, and micro-solenoids are simply not built to handle decades of this relentless abuse. Consider what happens when an electronic solenoid valve gets a single microscopic grain of sawdust trapped inside its seat. The computer tries to compensate, but the physical valve cannot cycle fast enough. The saw instantly bogs down or runs critically lean. If an electronic sensor fails in the middle of a remote forest, you cannot fix it on your tailgate with a simple pocket carburetor screwdriver. You cannot tune the saw to run richer to save it from melting. The tool simply enters a permanent software limp mode or refuses to start entirely. This corporate architecture completely strips the ownership away from the user. It forces a professional logger to pack up his gear, lose a full day of wages, and drive hours to a licensed dealership just to pay a corporate technician to plug his mechanical tool into a proprietary computer software system just to read an error code. You no longer own your tool. You are merely renting its functionality from a software corporation. Professional timber cutters and smart operators refuse to play this corporate game. They have quietly started an underground mechanical rebellion. When a seasoned professional is forced to buy a modern, electronically choked chainsaw today, the very first thing they do upon leaving the store is intentionally void the factory warranty. They take the brand new tool straight to a workbench, remove the highly restricted, EPA-compliant muffler, and perform what is known in the industry as a muffler mod. By using a grinding tool or welding torch to open up the tiny, baffled, catalytic exhaust ports, they allow the high-temperature exhaust gases to exit the engine instantly without restriction. This simple mechanical modification allows the entire engine to breathe properly, immediately dropping the internal operating temperature of the cylinder head by up to 50 degrees Fahrenheit and instantly unlocking up to 25% more raw, unadulterated horsepower. They are forced to become kitchen table engineers just to restore the basic reliability that the tool should have possessed from the factory. But the modification of new saws is only half the story. The real battle is happening on the secondary market. These professional users have turned into aggressive hoarders of vintage machinery. Legendary, completely non-electronic, fully adjustable models manufactured in the late 1990s and early 2000s, such as the iconic Stihl 4, the Ms. 460, or the legendary Husqvarna 372 XP have officially become mechanical gold. A heavily used, scratched, 20-year-old magnesium-bodied chainsaw that can be entirely disassembled and rebuilt with basic hand tools now regularly commands higher prices on the secondary market than a brand new tool sitting on a dealership showroom floor with a digital diagnostic port. Why? Because a pro knows that old-school, analog iron will start reliably at 20 degrees below zero in a blizzard. It will run consistently all day long without a microchip telling it to shut down. And most importantly, it can be completely tuned by ear to run slightly rich, ensuring the engine stays cool and survives decades of brutal commercial operation. But there is an even darker layer to this environmental shift that most people miss: the destruction of the air filtration systems. In older saws, the air filter was a massive, heavy-duty pleated nylon or felt element designed to stop even the finest flower-like wood dust generated by cutting dry hardwood. To meet modern weight targets and airflow requirements under choked intake conditions, many modern saws utilize ultra-thin mesh filters. Look closely at the intake tract of a modern saw after a long day of cutting. You will often find a fine layer of silty wood dust bypass straight into the carburetor throat. In a two-stroke engine, that dust acts exactly like valve grinding compound. It enters the cylinder, gets trapped between the piston ring and the aluminum wall, and acts like sandpaper, rapidly wearing down the compression rings until the saw loses its primary compression and refuses to restart when hot. Visual. Split-screen torque test. High contrast timers running at the top of the screen. Left side. Modern Stihl Ms 462. Right side. Vintage Stihl 044. Let's look past the corporate marketing brochures and examine the cold, hard physical metrics. If you place a brand new, modern fuel-injected chainsaw on a test log right next to a fully mechanical vintage model of the exact same engine displacement, the results are shocking. On paper, the modern saw should completely humiliate the vintage machine. The new saw features computer-optimized ignition curves, advanced stratified scavenging ports, and incredibly tight manufacturing tolerances designed by multi-million-dollar software programs. But when you bury a 32-inch guide bar deep into a frozen, seasoned piece of white oak, a test that demands raw, sustained torque rather than peak laboratory horsepower, the truth is exposed. The brand new, $1,400 digitally controlled saw finishes the complex cut in exactly 18 seconds. The 20-year-old, fully mechanical vintage saw, completely freed from modern environmental restrictions and manually tuned to deliver maximum fuel, finishes the exact same cut in 19 seconds. Think about that metric from the perspective of a rational operator. You are being asked to spend an extra $1,000 up front, accept delicate electronic solenoids, tolerate fragile plastic carter surrounds, and submit to a total lack of field repairability, all for a grand saving of 1 single second per cut. It defies all practical business logic. The older, mechanical saw accomplishes this incredible feat because it possesses raw, unchoked displacement, heavy iron crankshaft mass, and simple, incredibly robust geometry. It does not rely on a software patch or a firmware update to cut wood. It relies on the basic physics of volume, compression, and fuel. If the vintage engine begins to run slightly lean because the weather turns cold, the operator simply takes a brass screwdriver out of his pocket, turns the hide jet screw a quarter turn to the left to introduce more raw fuel, and the problem is permanently solved in 5 seconds. Modern manufacturing technology has undoubtedly democratized the production of basic engine blocks, but modern corporate compliance and environmental overt regulation have systematically destroyed mechanical longevity. The corporate monopoly on professional forestry tools has officially cracked because users are waking up to the reality of the compromise. Visual. Slow, cinematic drone shot over a massive forest landscape. The screen slowly darkens at the edges, drawing focus to the center. If you are a casual suburban homeowner who only cuts to small pine logs a year to light a weekend backyard fire, buying a flagship $1,500 electronic chainsaw is not a symbol of high professionalism or mechanical wisdom. It is simply definitive proof that you fell headfirst for aggressive corporate marketing campaigns. You are willingly paying out of your own pocket for a multi-million-dollar global television advertising budget, sleek corporate sponsorship deals, and a massive, bloated international dealership network. You are not paying for the quality of the actual metal resting in your hands. True professional woodsmen care deeply about the ultimate cost per cord of wood processed and the long-term reliability of their fleet, not the shiny, pristine brand sticker printed on the plastic starter shroud. The era of blindly trusting a premium brand name simply because of historical loyalty or a famous logo is officially over. Manufacturing capabilities have equalized globally, meaning that small, independent factories can now cast solid, heavy magnesium engine blocks for pennies on the dollar, while the premium kings are forced to complicate their designs with fragile wires and plastic to satisfy government bureaucrats. But what about you? Are you willing to risk your hard-earned money on a highly complex, modern plastic saw controlled by a hidden microchip, or are you actively working to keep your grandfather's heavy metal, fully adjustable beast alive and screaming in the woods? Is the premium price tag of a modern Stihl or Husqvarna truly justified by the engineering, or have we all just been tricked into buying overpriced, fragile plastic? Let me know your honest, unfiltered experiences with these modern, choked, auto-tuning electronic engines in the comments section below, and do not hold anything back. If you want to see more brutal, honest, deep technical breakdowns of tools without the corporate censorship or paid sponsor fluff, make sure to hit the subscribe button for the Chainsaw Archives right now. Keep your chains sharp, your fuel mixtures rich, and stay independent.